All right, we are live. Okay, let's start this. So, who was the first person? Because I might take a while to get ready when it comes to anything that I want to add. But so let's just go with the questions.
Okay, beautiful. So first on the list, we have Guy.
Hi, Armin. So this is my first time here. I just want to thank you and Goldie and Tusi both for letting us know what's actually going on in Iran, and also for being such great people. And actually, so the past 2.5 years were really tough. And the biggest thing was a feeling of isolation, of like, there's no one that's with us, no one that understands us. Even people who were with us didn't quite understand us because they don't have the whole context of what it's like being in the Middle East, and also having like an eye towards the West. And I've actually felt my like mental health improving over the past month, just through seeing you, Goldie, and Tusi, and just being yourselves and feeling like Israelis and Iranians are kindred spirits. And I can't wait until the revolution is completed and I can go visit. And actually, I teach Hebrew, and I want to learn Farsi now, and I also want to, if there would be any Iranians interested in learning Hebrew, I'd be happy to do that. So that's just as a first spiel.
Wait, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and why you felt this connection, and why why this expression of Iranians regarding what's happening and the connection between Iranians and Israeli, like why is that why was that important to you, and how did that affect you? And thank you, by the way. And thank you so much for being here. I hope. By the way, I just also want to say thank you so much for everything you said. I'm really grateful that you're here. I really appreciate you being here. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
So I'm Israeli, which was, I think was implied there.
Yes.
And I've had like my feeling about the West in general has soured over the past 2.5 years. Or at least the current instantiation of the West. And you know, there was a big feeling of isolation, of okay, I really think I'm right. I feel like I'm in the right here, but it seems like there are individuals who might understand me, and me being as Israel, and vouch for me, and stand by me. But as I couldn't see anywhere where I would feel like I belong anymore. I used to think maybe, you know, travel and whatever, and it'll be fine. And there are a bunch of YouTubers I used to follow who really disappointed me. Some of whom I actually spoke with about Israel. Like they didn't really know anything. And right after October 7th, I spoke to there's a guy called P.F. Jung. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He used to do like Jordan Peterson philosophical content. And I had a couple of conversations with him about Israel. We were going to have the third one. He ghosted me. And over time, he just became increasingly more unhinged about Israel. Like America has a Zionist occupied government, and so on and so on. Like he considers himself a centrist, and just seeing how the younger generation of Americans has been completely brainwashed has really unnerved me.
Brainwashing against Israel. So that's what made you lose hope in the West, that so many people in the West were becoming more and more anti-Israeli. Right. So
yeah, and also seemingly they had no cultural backbone, nothing that actually no culture to speak of. It's like liberalism in the sense of decontextualizing and universalizing beyond, and just losing yourself in the process.
And now, what made you have you changed your mind a little bit, or what's it? What's
not
this
about
renewed
not
hope?
about them, It's about Iran,
Mhm.
as
As the
like
ally.
I feel yeah, and I feel a
Yeah.
great camaraderie
Right.
with Iranians, and I
I
found myself like being really touched by everything happening over
I
the
feel
last
like
month.
we understand each other more than
Yes.
Europeans. I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm not saying anything negative against America, because I appreciate America as a a country that is foundation is based on classical liberal values, and a major contributing to science and technology and the economy of the world, and a stabilizing force around the planet, and a major defender of classical liberal values. So when I say that we Iranians and Israelis understand each other, is not to attack America. I'm sure the Americans understand their region more than we understand their region, right? I just think that given that we're in the same neighborhood and we're dealing with the same threats, and we're dealing with the same unique values in the middle of the sea of death, and the fight for our survival. And I think that as Iranians, as an Iranian, I do think that the Jews have had hundreds and hundreds of years of experience of what we only are experiencing in the past 47 years. So if there's anybody that could understand what we're going through under the Islamic Republic, it's only the Jews. So it's not just that we have ancient bonds. It's not just that we have the same ideological enemy. It's not just that we have the same political entity as our enemy. It's not just that we are fighting for life in the middle of by while being surrounded by a cult of death. It's not just that, it's also that you understand our suffering, because your entire history has been built upon fighting the same type of challenges that we have been dealing with in the past 47 years. So I think it resonates and you understand, and this is why we very much appreciate. We feel very lonely in this region if it wasn't because of Israel. So this is why we appreciate it, having Israel so much. And it's so beautiful that so many Iranians who are falling back in love with Israel are also discovering that this bond goes back thousands of years. And how Iranians are obsessed with their history. So as soon as they learn that this is how we
As
were
are Jews, by the way.
historically. Yes. Yeah, we have to be, right, because it's our identity is tied into our land, right? Oh, this is another thing that we have in similarity. Like, our identity is very much tied into the land. Like, the love for the land itself and how the ideas are connected to the land is also very similar between Iranians and Israelis. Um, so given how much Iranians are also obsessed with going back to their historical roots, as soon as the young generation learns that our historical roots, that we were the friendliest people to the Jews, and how much Cyrus the Great is praised by Israelis, and that historical record that we have, they also very much welcome going back to that. So there's so many reasons for us to be allies and friends, not just
Yeah.
allies, but also friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I feel like we're you said it exactly right, and really resonated that like I think we're the only ones who can understand each other like deeply in terms of what's happening right now. I actually had a couple questions. I didn't expect the intro to go as long as it did. The first one is looking at the map after the revolution. I keep going back to a potentially really strong alliance between Israel, Iran, and India in terms of common interests and complementary resources and capabilities. And do you think that is likely to happen? And because if it does, I actually think it can be like a world power level alliance.
I hope so. I do hope so. Um, we don't have I really see India to be as part of the solution in the upcoming global Cold War. with China on one side. I do want America, especially, to do as much as possible to attract India into this side, and Israel being a U.S. ally, and Israel and India having a close relationship will benefit, would help with that. We don't have as much of a connection with India as much we have with Israel. So that's something that we need to improve and work on. The fact that India's challenges, a lot of it also has to do with Islam, might help a lot of Iranians see eye to eye with India, given that a lot of India's challenges are. Iranians are so Islamophobic that if you're being Islamophobic as well, they just bond over that. Okay. I'm joking. Well, maybe I'm joking. I don't know, but I don't know how much I'm joking, right? But I mean, one thing that might hurt that, I don't know if how many people, it might not, it might, but I don't know how many people noticed that, is that when it came to condemning the massacre of the Islamic Republic, if, for some reason, India, like in the United Nations, for some reason, India voted against. They didn't even abstain. They actually voted against. Right. So that was the only unexpected country. Like all the other countries that voted against were either commie or Islamic, or Russia or China. The only country that was like neither Islamic or Russia or China or a commie country that voted against that was India. Like, but I mean, I still don't understand why they voted against that. They could, if they wanted to keep it neutral, they could have just abstained. So if that gets highlighted, that would be something that many Iranians might consider unforgivable. However, India just recently did come and capture. Took over some of the oil tankers of the Islamic Republic, which was very helpful. So that is something to celebrate. I know Indians have a positive view of what they call Parsis. Because apparently the Parsi community, which is Zoroastrian Iranians inside Iran, are very highly regarded. They're very much respected, and apparently the Indians love them as part of India. So by extension, many Indians consider Iranians to must be the same. So given the positive experience and the respect that they have for the Parsi community inside India, many Indians have respect for Iranians. So there's that. We could work on that. But I'm very much in favor of working on the relationship between Iran and India. And I think Israel could be the in between to make that happen, given that the glue, because Israel will have a good relationship with both. It would be a good power block.
And I don't want to take too much time because I feel like I'm already going over. So the final question is about the propaganda that, again, we can also work kindred spirits in that. In that we saw how much the Islamic and commie psyops and propaganda outlets and the social media bots and so on have really heard both of our struggles. And I was wondering, what do you think about Iran? Because Israel is small. It's like 10 million people. And we just can't fight that war alone. And I was wondering whether you think that the Free Iran would be able to help both restore our name and also explain your own revolution, what's actually going on, in like, because the IRGC actually absolutely already has like infrastructure in place for amplifying messaging online, and I don't want to use it badly. I want to use it for truth, but it might be actually a moral thing to use those methods of amplification to actually send a real signal for what's actually going on.
Yeah, so we have soft power, and then we have military power. We have intelligence. We have the army, the Artesh, and then we have soft power, which is we have 90 million Iranians who are now going to be free to basically give a positive message um, of Israel from the Middle East, which I think that will be, before we even get to military and intelligence, I think that would be a significant contribution. 90 million Iranians now completely being free to give their story without the Islamic Republic silencing them will be uh, we will have more pro-Israeli message coming from the Middle East, maybe than even Israel itself, given that the Iranian people would be unleashed. And the reason that would be very powerful messaging is because it's from the Middle East and they're not Israeli, right? It would be very difficult to suggest that Israelis are oppressors against, non-Jewish people, when a country that a lot of the leftists, a lot of the communists, or a lot of Islamists will consider to be oppressed by Israel and Zionism and imperialist West, now that they're completely free, their voice will be undeniable. Like, nobody right now, there are a lot of people like I forgot what his real. We call him Chunky Yogurt so much on Goldie's show. I forgot what his real name is.
Cenk Uygur.
Yes. Cenk Uygur, and people like Anna Kasparian, they deny what we actually stand for. They say that we hate Pahlavi. They say that we hate Israel. They say that we don't want United States intervention. So a lot of these people will be embarrassed and corrected for the whole world when the Iranian people actually will be able to give their voice out there. So imagine the effect, the PR effect for Israel, where so many Iranians will now be waving the flag of Israel inside Iran as soon as they're free. Like, imagine the wave of Israeli flags held by Iranians inside Iran, and the media effect of, like, the coverage of that. Like, look, Iranians, as soon as they're free, there's just a sea of Israeli flags being waved inside Iran next to the, I don't know, maybe the tomb of Cyrus the Great. So this would be a huge devastating blow to the axis of resistance and their narrative, if there is such a thing as the axis of resistance remaining after the fall of the Islamic Republic. So, because I mean, they will lose. Remember, a lot of the things that upset you when it comes to watching the West and the crazy, stupid narratives, they're not organic; they're funded, right? So the Islamic Republic falling will cut a lot of their funding. So you will have a lot of positive information coming from the Middle East itself, from Iranians supporting Israel, but you also get a lot of cut of funding to the propaganda arm of the Islamic Republic inside the West. When it comes to military and intelligence, so it's true that we need to be rebuilding our army and the Artesh and also Savak, which is our intelligence operations, and that might take a while. However, remember that we have oil and gas, and all of that oil and gas money, now that it's all the oil and gas money that was being spent on destroying Israel, now is going to be spent on building an army and intelligence operation that is going to be working side by side with Israel to basically find all of these destructive Islamic groups in the region and eliminating them. So even though we have to start from scratch and it might take a while to build it up, we do have a lot of oil and gas to sell to at a reasonable price now, instead of at a discount to China in the free market, to rebuild this army. So that is going to significantly help Israel. Maybe not that much at the beginning, because it will take time. But remember, Savak was trained by Mossad, right? So when Savak was around during the Pahlavi dynasty, Israel said, there's a reason why Israel found it beneficial to train Savak, right? And I think we're going to go back. I think, given how much, how the way United States treats Israel, I think Israel is going to treat Iran like that, because United States realized that it's going to be a lot cheaper and a lot very advantageous to them to have a very powerful ally that seemed to be really good at fighting, to keep cooperating with them and supporting them, to basically, because their enemies also happen to be the United States enemies. So why not help them get as strong as possible to fight their mutual enemies, right? So with the same logic would follow when it comes to the relationship between Israel and Iran. Given how much our enemies, how much we are aligned when it comes to our goal and wanting stability in the region, and we have mutual enemies, I think Israel will constantly benefit from a stronger Iran. For a powerful Iran would be benefiting Israel, and rich Iran will benefit Israel, and Iran with a powerful army will benefit Israel. So given how much we're aligned, I think Israel will be there cooperating with Iran to build its army and intelligence operations. And I think the return on investment from that will be much higher than what they put in there.
And the Israeli military budget would actually like free up. I saw an analysis of like $100 billion, like a year or something crazy, that is spent just because of Iran and its proxies. So there would be a way. Yeah, I don't know how real it is, and I'm not sure if it was $100 billion or shekels, which is like a 3 times difference, but it's still, there's a lot of money that would free up, that would be able to I think help Iran reconstruct.
That doesn't take into account the money that will be coming, because the stability in the region will bring capital in the region and increase economic activity. So as much as Israel's economy is growing, after this happens, it would even speed up the growth of Israel's economy, which means that tax revenue will increase, and that means that the budget for the military will also be able to increase. So that's not even taking into account the economic growth from the stability that all of this would cause.
Right.
We are going to have to move on with the list.
That was great, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. Would you like me to add you again to the back of the list if you have anything else or want to keep going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
No pressure, no pressure. Like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, it's gonna be like, I don't have anything to say.
No, I have a small thing, but it's fine.
Okay,
if there's time,
beautiful.
and if not, some other day.
Okay, beautiful. I will add you to the bottom. Next, we have Danny.
Right. Hello. So I wanted to add to what Guy said at the beginning, that I like Western values and I love America, but as of late, the current politics in America have anti-Western and anti-American elements. And it's not just that they're anti-Israel, they are anti-themselves, and more precisely, anti-everything that I like about them. So in every corner of the political spectrum that you find hatred for Israel, you will in equal amounts find hatred for America maintaining the American world order, which is what I'm so disappointed with. Case in point, I originally raised my hand to add to what I saw in your live stream with Goldie. So for context, the Islamists have recently decided to start a beef against dogs in the US, which I wholeheartedly encourage them to try to do. And I saw a few days ago a Republican lawmaker who tweeted, let me actually share my screen for a second. Is this it? Yeah, so he tweeted, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one, in response to this Islamist saying that we should dogs. And as a result of this, he got calls for censure from some prominent Democrats, like, where is this? From AOC, from Rokana, and from, I don't know what this is actually. I just want to say that I hope this is held against them until either they improve their party platform or get voted out over this nonsense. I can put these links in the chat if people want to keep looking at it.
I mean, Randy Fine has an actual history of bigotry against Muslims. Like, I don't... like, I don't blame the reaction that he got. Like, he does have an actual bigotry towards Muslims. Like, of course.
Even if this is true, I think he's completely right on this issue, isn't he?
Can I also interject that it was one Islamist who has no elected position in power?
Okay,
That
time
was
out.
no like
Time
elected
out,
official,
time
and it
out.
was not like, oh, huge
Time
organization with all these
out.
people.
Okay, we are not doing the interrupting thing today at all. Susanna wasn't here. We love her, and she's like also high level, but we are not doing interrupting today because I'm going to mute for the whole show if it keeps happening. Sorry not to come down hard, but I put that boundary in the beginning, and it has to stay firm. Otherwise, it just keeps snowballing. So sorry.
So BT, is it okay what do you think if we do that, except for people who are mods? Is that, what do you think? Like mods could jump in? Is that a good rule?
Absolutely, yes, sure.
Yeah, okay.
I was actually done with my point, so I'm happy to invite for comments from, for example, Samantha if she wants to.
I want to comment on what Susie said. I would like, can I just, for people who don't have the context, is it okay? Because I went over this during the show, but can I go over it? Can I share everything here now, just really quickly for people who might not know what's happening? All right, so let me just, so this is how it started. This lady, I don't even know who she is, posted, finally, New York City is coming to Islam. Dogs definitely have a place in society, just not as indoor pets. Like we've said all along, they are unclean. So this is a serious, I know, I mean, this person's like, Samantha, you're right when you say like, okay, this is just one person and she's not like, it doesn't have any position, but this is part of a broader thing. Okay, like I see this as a threat because this is the normalization of enforcing Sharia. So even though she might not be, like, we're using her as a warning. I'm not saying that she herself is very influential. I'm just using her as a demonstration because this is how it starts. They first, I mean, they have an ummah, which is like a nation, and then they want to have the, through religious freedom, they want to say like, oh, these are our practices and this is how you should do it, at least in the Muslim areas. And then they're going to have their own enforcement mechanism like they have in the UK and some areas of the UK. So basically it's effectively enforcing laws parallel to the states, which now that you have something like a nation, and then if you have enforcement of laws, or then that's a state. If you have enforcement of laws, that's a state. So you basically are you're challenging the nation state from within. This is why I know this might sound extreme. You might disagree with me, but I consider this an invasion from within. I do agree that the wording here, let's go to this wording. I would change this. So again, I do consider this to be something worth amplifying. I mean, if Susie is saying this man is anti-Muslim instead of anti-Islam, I think the fact that this post got this much attention to it is good. I would have changed this myself. I wouldn't say dogs and Muslims. So here's what he said. He said, if they force us to choose the choice between dogs and Muslims, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. I would have said Islam. I would have said, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Islam is not a difficult one. I wouldn't say Muslims. So this guy seems to be more anti-Muslim than anti-Islam, and we here are anti-Islam. However, I would want to call people out who are being anti-Muslim, but at the same time, I did repost this because if I just wanted to only repost things that is getting the attention to what I want in a way that is, if my condition is that it has to be written perfectly, then it's going to be really hard for us to find any allies or any cooperate with anybody. Yes, I mean, the people that we might support. I mean, I worked with Muslims, and Muslims have some of the most disgusting, vile ideas, but I found enough. Sometimes I managed to find something that I shared with them in common. And I like if I don't repost this, then the Muslims that I worked with, I shouldn't be reposting them as well, because they believe in the Quran, and the Quran is violent and disgusting. So why would I repost them, like based on the history that they have, given that they support Islam? So when I see a message that is, I don't know, 80% okay, I'm like, yeah, whatever, let's just amplify this, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Given also as an Iranian how much attention this is bringing to the fact that, okay, Islam is anti-dog, but Iranians are pro-dog. So like I saw Tommy posting this. I need to repost Goldie, because Goldie posted this video as well, but I didn't see it. But here, how people treat dogs tells you everything you need to know about them. Iranians treat this good doggo very well. So this video has went viral from the protests in Iran. All right, so that was that. And then we had Ricky Gervais, who I love. He got involved, saying, say hello to my little friend with his dog. And then I shared this on the stream. This was from just a few days ago. This I'm just going to give you the short summary. This dog, whose name Shelby, was shot dead in front of its owner by the Islamic regime for getting confession out of the owner. So agents of the Islamic regime raided the home of a poster in Mashhad, and to force a confession out of him, they shot this sweet dog named Shelby in the head from just a few inches away. There's another video that I don't think I want to show you guys, because it's going to devastate you. It's about how the Islamic Republic kills dogs, and it's a video of them being hanged slowly to death. So I'm not going to show you that, because that killed me. So I'm not going to share that with you. So apparently some of you haven't seen this. This is another video. Absolutely heartbreaking video. Pet owners in Iran have taught their dogs to hide when passing Islamic regime agents and police. The Islamic Republic in Iran kills dogs because they are seen as dirty animals under Islamic law. So look how well trained this dog is. So when he tells his dog police, he goes and hides. Watch this. Police. Police. Look at it, so cute, so well trained. He's like, I don't know what his name is. He's police, and then he goes and hides. Police. It's so sweet. And then I also showed on the show that, look, there's some areas in the UK apparently that you can't take your dogs. The police is stopping you because Muslims would not like it.
This is the police. Hey, I'm no Nazi. This is the police appeasing the leftists again.
Anyways, I don't want to go through this video a lot. I just want to make sure that this Ramadan, I think people should take their dogs into Islamic areas if it's safe for them, just to make sure that that Muslims cannot enforce their stupid laws on you in your own cities. And also last video I want to share is that this man was killed by the regime as one of the people who was protesting, and he left a message for people regarding what to do with his dog if he dies. I just wanted to share that with you really quickly, because I see some of you haven't seen this. So this is Javidnam Ali Karami. So Javidnam means the people who were killed by the regime, and this was his dog, and this is him before he died. Let me just play the video really quick, and then I'll translate it for you.
اگه من قبل از سگم مردم بذارید بدن بیجون منو ببینه اون مرگ رو میفهمه اگر مرگ منو حس کنه میتونه برام گریه کنه و عزاداری کنه ولی اگر بدن بیجان منو نبینه فکر میکنه ترکش کردم و منتظر برگشتن من میمونه اگه من قبل از سگم مردم بذارید با هم خداحافظی کنه سگ یعنی دوستیه بدون محدودیت اگه من قبل از سگم
So he's saying, if I die before my dog, let him see my dead body. Because he understands death. If he feels my death, he could cry for me and grieve my death.
ولی اگر بدن بی جان منو نبینه فکر میکنه ترکش کردم.
But if he doesn't see my body, he's going to think I abandoned him.
منتظر برگشتن من بمونه. اگه
And he will keep waiting for me to return.
من قبل از سگم مردم بذارید با هم خداحافظی کنم.
So if I die before my dog, please let him say goodbye to me.
سگ یعنی دوستی بدون محدودیت.
So saying dog is basically friendship without condition. So and this is him. This is his body. This is where they buried him, and this is his dog, by his burial ground, by the place that they buried him. But the main thing he wanted to make sure before he died is that his dog, his baby, doesn't think that he abandoned him. He wanted to make sure that if he died, he knows that he died. His dad died, and he didn't just abandon him. That was on his mind before he went into the streets to fight the regime. What was on his mind is, what if I die and he thinks I just didn't come home and I just left him? So he wanted to make sure that he saw people show him that no, he died, he didn't abandon you. Anyways, I just wanted to show that to you because the difference between the Islamic culture and the Iranian culture is very, very significant, and in so many different ways. And I mean, it's really hard to count them. And now one of them is also the way that they treat dogs. And the love for dogs in Persian culture is ancient. It's also part of Zoroastrian religion because dogs are sacred in Zoroastrianism, and it's very basically the opposite of Islam. Dogs are najas. Najas in Islam means spiritually impure. And Muhammad is also famous for ordering people to kill dogs. And then we have authentic hadiths that he ordered all dogs to be killed. And then at some point they realized that that's too much because some dogs are useful. So he said, okay, don't kill dogs, but if they're fully black, then you have to kill them because black dogs are the devil themselves. So sorry, that went for too long. I just wanted to quickly share that with you guys. Yeah, Danny, go on.
VT, am I allowed like 2 more minutes, or do you want to put me at the back of the list?
Go ahead, we'll do 2.
Okay, so I think we should be encouraging voices against attempted Islamic takeover like Randy Fine. And on that note, I also wanted to bring attention to a UK politician, Rupert Lowe, and the party is launching Restore Britain, if anyone has heard of that. And yeah, it's basically all anti-Islamic takeover. He put out like a 10-minute video, but I can't show this to him. I'll just try to link it.
I do want to know how people, guys, here's the thing, like Susie's concern is something that we need to take seriously, because anti-Islam activism turning into anti-Muslim activism harms our cause, but it's really hard to manage that because the human mind will naturally connect the disgust that they have with Islam. They naturally will connect that to Muslims. If we keep wanting to police people, then it's going to be hard to do anything. So I don't really know how to manage that other than just demonstrating how we do it. But when it comes to, like, there's so many different institutions, so many different groups, so many different activists, and they're doing a lot of work that is being very effective, but sometimes they're going to say something that looks like they are basically enemies of Muslims in general, like should we basically cut ties or not support? Like that is like too much of a limitation on our fight against Islam. But it's also understandable that we don't want to encourage any form of discrimination as well. So if anybody has any suggestion on how you could figure that out, that really difficult balance, and how to manage this, I'm all ears. But yeah, so
is that an invitation for my thoughts? I'm trying not to interrupt.
Susie, you're a mod, so you
okay.
Yeah.
I want to be sensitive. So very quickly, my opinion is like there are a lot of people in this space who have a very problematic approach to tackling these issues. some of which, at least in the American context, are flatly and obviously unconstitutional. And so my experience is that it is helpful to build a relationship with those people and emphasize all of the things that you have in common and all of the ways in which your goals are aligned, and you recognize that what they feel is a problem, you also agree is a big problem that needs to be addressed specifically. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of times it attempts to address Islamic problems are diluted by making it about every religion. And it's like, no, it's okay that we address the Islamic issue specifically, but trying to steer them in a more positive direction, and because ultimately that more positive direction is more likely to be useful and more likely to be implemented. So like a quick example would be Representative Chip Roy introduced like the Sharia Free America Act. But if you look at the language of that bill, it just says that like adherents for Sharia are not going to be eligible for kind of certain visa stuff, but they in no point define what Sharia is. Like, that's not very helpful. And also, like, by Sharia, do you mean like someone's zakat? Do you mean the way that they fast? Do you mean the way that they do ablution? Like, so that kind of legislation is not helpful because it's marketed poorly and defined poorly. But you can agree that the implementation of Sharia law above American constitutional law is a problem that does happen in the United States. So in that case, it's good to reach out to those people and try to build a relationship with them and explain how they could do what they do better. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, and can I add? I fully agree with your approach of engaging with people that we like mostly agree with and want to correct them to be less extreme. But I just want to add that since desperate times call for desperate measures, we can afford the most moderate approach when we act before we get desperate. So I think it's also important to try to act quickly and decisively before we're worried that, let's say, the US is imminently going to have a 1979 type revolution.
I mean, I think the US is not in a dire position. I think the United Kingdom is in a dire position. But
it's not in a dire position yet, but we want to act before it gets into a dire position so that we don't have to do anything extreme.
Well, yeah, you were saying, what warrants moderation versus urgency, and I don't think the US is at a place of dire urgency. On other scenarios, sure.
I think Jeffrey also wants to add something.
Yeah, Jeffrey, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I raised my hand, so I can wait till other people go. If you want me to, I can go.
For the list, you mean?
Yep.
Comment on this, though. I mean,
go ahead. Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I shared a personal experience that I had with the group and, the YouTube audience and all that. My in-laws are practicing Sunni Muslim, and so they very much know my position on Islam, which is very critical and indeed in opposition to. And so there was, like, in 2006, they were doing their Eid at the end of Ramadan. And, there was this very doctrinaire douche canoe from Canada who kept on yip-yapping for, like, how Israel sucks and, like, everything's run by Zionists. And I, like, took his bullshit for about an hour. And after that, I had enough. So I just, like, systematically deconstructed Islam and, like, shat in its mouth. And so my in-laws asked me something. They asked me a question, said, how could you say you love us yet you hate Islam? And my response, I paused for a minute. I said, my response was, I love you for who you truly are, not what Islam misled you to believe that you are. I'm going somewhere with this regarding what's the operational utility here. So you're very right in the sense that, it's not operationally advantageous it's not advantageous from an operational or moral perspective to be indiscriminate in how you apply criticism, right? Or deal with a real threat. I'm going to disagree with Susanna, I would contend we are very much in dire straits in the United States. I've faced off directly against elements of the Muslim Brotherhood, Imam Rauf, Daisy Khan, all their leftist enablers. I mean, there's video recordings of it. They're friggin' nuts. And they got their claws in everything. So that being said, that still doesn't mean we can afford to be indiscriminate. So what do I mean? Here's what I mean. One of the ways one might, this was actually said to me by, what was he? Was it Padre, or he was kind of like a Gregorian monk? I actually met him when my mom was in the recovery room about 10, 11 years ago. And we were talking about, interracial tension, how people view those things in a manner that allows you to be decisive, right? Yet not indiscriminate. I'll get to that in a minute. So he kind of categorized them in two different ways. The northern view, particularly leftist northern view, like the leftist warped version of northern view, passes on entire demographics, not individuals. Like they give an exception to entire demographics, and the burden of proof lies on the observer. Well, that's not rational because human beings operate around something called bounded rationality. The southern view says they'll make exceptions for individuals, not the entire demographic, and the burden of proof lies on the observee, while you maintain a critically open mind. So what does that mean like operationally? Think about what happened with Savak, right? And how this is one of the things that undermine the efficacy of Savak in stopping the Red-Black Alliance and undermining the Shah. Decisive, there's a difference between decisive and extreme, and people confuse those two things, right? In times of crisis, which is where we're at, it is only rational, to David's point, to be decisive. There's a difference between that and extremity. The difference is focus and discrimination. Yeah. So in Western military doctrine, it is very much, so what does that mean like socioculturally? We don't have enough people, unless you're going to engage in like wholesale genocide, right? You're going to punch 1.2 billion people's tickets. It's not operationally feasible. Even if that was well, I can't say that with targeted bioweaponry. That's not true anymore. So even if that were true, it's still not operationally desirable because you're wasting effort. It is very much within Western civilization's military doctrine of conservation of force, both for moral and operational reasons. Because when I'm not trying to slaughter non-targets, it means that I can put more effort on actual targets, actual threats. And so when you think about things like having dialogue with other elements, I do that. That's true. Even when I engage with, I face off against the left. You can reach out, provided you're also on guard that such efforts are not co-opted by hostile extremist elements to lower the entrance barrier for them to include their sedition as part of the discourse, as part of a broader long-term strategy of calculated aggression and set up their centers of gravity to hit you when you're vulnerable. That's exactly what happened to the Shah, right? People confused Savak's decisiveness in response to legitimate threat as being indiscriminately extreme. And so what happened was elements of Carter's government in response to the amplification of disinformation pushed by Soviet-backed leftists throughout like the media and the rest of it, curtailed Savak's decisive acts because they were misled to believe that they were indiscriminately extreme.
All right.
Armin, Susie had something else to add, if that's okay.
Yes.
I'm good. No, I'm good.
No.
Never mind.
Okay. I'm
Oh,
By the way, I have something to add. First of all, beyond just being happy that Susie is here again, I also want to really appreciate BT. Guys, please don't make BT's job difficult. Okay, when she's asking you to, I know like we are all here we're like really interested in these topics, but BT is putting a lot of time and effort to try to manage here. So just wanted to appreciate her moderating as well. Thank you, BT.
Okay, I don't remember who asked that question. Was that Danny, or did we move on to Ali?
Yeah, let's.
Okay. Okay, so Ali, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Armin,
Hello,
after
Ali.
you left the stream yesterday, Goldie had the major come up, and he spoke about the location of the Gerald Ford and the timeline of a potential attack. I wanted to see if you or Jeffrey or anyone else had any insight or anything to add on it. But basically, he was saying that the carrier yesterday was spotted off Malta, which is just south of Italy, and it was going to approach the Suez Canal. Crossing that would take 2 days, and then it was going to go and link up with the Abraham Lincoln, which would take another, like in total, all of this would take about 10 days, which is what we also heard from Trump today, saying 10 days. We'll see. And then the major was saying, upon linking with the Abraham Lincoln, the strikes would begin within 48 hours because it's simply too expensive to keep going any longer than that.
Okay, so it's interesting. I've heard, maybe this is wrong, but I've heard that the Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group is going to be where it needs to be by Sunday. So that is, am I mistaken about that? Because that would be like in the next 3 days or so. That's what I've heard. So, and also given that President Trump likes to do an attack. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying what I've heard. I don't know which one of these is correct. By the way, I've heard all estimates when it comes to United States attack on the Islamic Republic. I've heard this weekend. I heard 10 days from now. I've heard 3 weeks from now. I've heard a couple of months from now. I've heard so many different estimates. I've heard even like something up to like March, December. I haven't heard any analysts saying that they will not attack. Like not a single analyst is saying that the United States is not going to attack. So if they don't attack, this is going to be very bizarre. Right? It's going to be basically against everyone's prediction. But the time estimates are all over the place. To me, that suggests that nobody knows. Given that many people whose job it is to actually analyze when the attack is going to be happening. The diversity of the guests and how all over the place it is, to me, suggests that, yeah, I mean, it's like we don't know is the best answer. I think you know what? I think not even Trump knows when they're gonna attack. I don't think they have. It might be that they haven't even yet made a decision. It might be even that they're like, let's just make sure that we are ready in case we need to attack, and then we'll see how it goes. Because you don't know, there might be a chance that the Islamic Republic will surrender. Even there's a very small chance, almost zero, but it's not zero itself. So why not see? That maybe they will give us some. I don't know. Everything suggests that I mean, from a U.S. perspective, it does make sense to start the war within 10 days from now, like this weekend. This weekend makes sense because I've heard Gerald Ford is going to be where it needs to be this weekend. And also I've heard that, that Trump likes to attack on weekends. So this weekend would make a lot of sense. And oil prices right now are very stable, and it's really good. Like even if it disrupts the oil markets, we're in a very good position right now when it comes for an attack. Everything is perfect right now for an attack. So it does make sense for them to attack. Trump did say that so there's two different things I've heard. I heard that everything is ready by Sunday to do an attack, and Trump also came out and said that you will know within the next 10 days. So he didn't say in 10 days, he said within the next 10 days. So, but also remember that during the 12-day war, Trump was talking about negotiations when they did the attack. However, he did also give a deadline for the Islamic Republic, and right on the spot when the deadline finished, they attacked. So there's a lot of contradictory information. I don't know which one to go with. I do suspect that if anybody speaks with certainty regarding when the attack will happen, I would suggest them to, even if they consider themselves to be experts, given that other experts disagree with them, I would, if I was them, I would be more skeptical regarding my suggestions. Given that if it doesn't happen when they said it would happen, then that would be a huge blow to their credibility. So it's always good to be skeptical. I mean, it's good to guess, but I think it's all over the place. I don't know, Jeffrey, what do you think?
Of open intelligence sources and reports from mainstream media and people who have ties to the administration says that the United States military is providing options to the administration and President Trump so they can strike as early as this Saturday. That's not confirmed. I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. That said, your observation is very much correct. It's not that President Trump doesn't know, it's because it's always going to be a moving target because the situation is fluid and ever changing, and so you have to modify everything on the fly. So that's why it's good to give a range, right? Given that where things exist right now, those things change, right? Chi-coms are helping the mullahs. We're putting in more stuff. Russians are helping the mullahs. Mullahs are just dispersing their stuff. All these proxies are doing all their shit. We're countering all that. So, I mean, these are all these moving parts. A lot of people got to kind of keep, analyze and find out when's the sweet spot. So, that's always going to be a moving target. What I'm saying is, given, keeping all that in mind, complex adaptive system, competitive adaptation, all that, moving target. The most recent reports I've seen, open intelligence reports, which is longhand for saying people reporting in the news, is that the DOD and the Pentagon is providing Trump options to be able to strike by as early as this Saturday. And that's probably, and it doesn't look like it's going to be, they're not going to tickle him. Like a lot of people have signaled, and the people I know, Donald has absolutely fucking had it with the Mullah regime. He is fed up with their bullshit.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Sorry.
I actually have the information. Hold on, let me see. Let me share my screen. This is what I have. So USS Gerald Ford will reach Arabian Sea in 4 days. So war could start by February 21st. So this is Saturday. So it's going to happen. It's coming earlier. So current tracking data shows that the current tracking data shows that the carrier is on pace to reach the Eastern Mediterranean just off the coast of Israel by this Sunday morning. So I don't know where that is coming from. Okay. So yeah, earlier than what I mean, we don't know. None of this is confirmed, as Jeffrey said, but some people are saying this weekend. Guys, grab your popcorns. We might be entering. This is going to be the biggest war we have experienced since the fall of Saddam. This is going to be big if it happens. So yeah, go on, BT.
Armin, Susie had a question along this line for Jeffrey, please.
My question is basically, what, if any, consideration is being made in terms of timing of attack regarding the ongoing Olympic Games? Because, like, technically, Russia and Belarus, the reason why they got kicked out of the Olympics was because they invaded. Whoa, what is that sound? Mute. They invaded Ukraine during an Olympic truce, and technically the Olympic truce does not end until late March. And look, we like our gold medals, baby. I have another friend that's like legitimately considering the likelihood of attack also timed around like when FIFA soccer starts kicking off. I don't know. It's just something to consider. What's your opinion, Jeffrey?
So Tusi gets a lot of that on his channel, right? I was just laughing because that was a question that kept coming up, and Tusi's like, "Why is everybody asking me about the Olympics?" I'll say this: geopolitics. I'm not saying that the Olympics is not any consideration. It's probably really low because geopolitics doesn't operate around slalom downhill racing. I mean,
you got to watch that curling, Jeffrey. It's all about
right.
No, but
Wait, so
I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, how come the United States didn't get kicked out of the Olympics because they invaded Venezuela and, took out Maduro and all this stuff? And I'm like, well, first of all, it didn't happen during an Olympic period. And secondly, like, let's be honest, we're held to a different standard. Let's just be honest. And apparently it's like important that the invading country tries to like literally annex the sports organizations of the victim country. And I don't think the United States has an interest in annexing the sports organizations of Iran. I don't know, probably not a priority. But yeah, it's something I've been thinking about.
I mean, nothing that the United States is doing, but like is an invasion or anything that could be described as an invasion. So, in fact, if anything, I think United States should be celebrated as liberators during the Olympics if they do anything like that. But I don't know, like the Olympics. How much of I would assume that the Olympics wouldn't even exist without the United States, given the amount of business the United States brings to all of that. I don't know. But Jeffrey, you're saying there's a small impact, because I assume that there is zero impact.
The reason I'm saying that is only because I'm not God, and no analyst worth their salt would say this is 100% like it's this, right?
Oh.
There's always margins of error. I'll put it to you this way as I typed it. The Olympics is not the primary indicator I would use to determine when military campaigns are timed, right, at all.
Okay. Interesting.
I have a question from the chat. I want to keep us rolling because we're a little slow today and we've got a lot to cover. The question from chat is, I think Afghan Talibans are ready to give safe havens to the IRGC. Is that going to be a big problem or not?
Oh. Where do you get this information from that they're willing to? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, even though they're enemies, the Taliban likes to all of a sudden pretend to be that they're supporter of anti-American Muslims when they need safe havens, and they will treat their Muslim brothers as people who deserve protection when non-Muslims are attacking them. They like to do that. They like to show a united front when it comes to humiliating Americans. So I wouldn't be. It's not, even though they are very much anti-IRGC. When it comes to America, they might want to do that, especially given that might give them some leverage over America. Given that they know America doesn't have an appetite to come into Afghanistan to start another war. So that would be interesting. The Taliban likes to poke at, try to find ways to show a lot of influence with very little power. But do you have any information that they're doing that? Because that's a risky bet to make against the Americans, especially now. Like, do we have any information that where that is coming from?
I don't see anything being provided in chat based on who asked the question. So
I do also think that it might be very financially motivated, and everything I said to you would be just the PR front of it, because the IRGC has a lot of money, so, and they know how to move them. So they might be, given that they lost Venezuela as a safe haven, they might be interested in going. Some of them might be interested to go to Afghanistan and offer the Taliban a lot of money for that protection money, basically. Knowing that United States is probably not going to bomb Afghanistan, given that, Afghanistan is actually a really good bet now that I think about it. If I was IRGC, because they know Americans would not tolerate United States going back into Afghanistan. That would be a very huge, like, devastating blow to Trump, like going back to Afghanistan after all of him, a lot of campaigning that we shouldn't have gone there to begin with. So they're not going to bomb Afghanistan. They're not going to bring troops on the ground to Afghanistan. There are no people in Afghanistan, like the Iranian people who would be trying to hunt them down. Is very close. Afghanistan is very resembling a failed state. So as long as you have some militia backing you, that you could pay them back you, there's not going to be like millions of people trying to hunt you down and kill you. Now that I think about it, Afghanistan does. I mean, it's not like Pakistan where you have some centralized army that is somewhat organized and has a huge intelligence apparatus that they could sell you if somebody has a, like Afghanistan is actually looking, now that I think about it, it's very given. I mean, Venezuela was the best option for these people. Russia doesn't seem really good right now, given that Putin is not treating Assad very well. They're treating him like a prisoner. So Russia used to be Venezuela and Russia used to be the options that the Islamic Republic officials usually thought of when it comes to running away. But Venezuela is not an option anymore. Russia doesn't look like a good destination. So yeah, Afghanistan, unfortunately for the IRGC, because that's not a very fun place to live. But it does seem like at least the most secure option to live, now that I think about it. Iraq might be good for some people. Iraq, no, that's too American right now. Too much American influence, too much American presence there. Yeah, wait, you're right. There's no better place than Afghanistan. Is there a better place than Afghanistan? I mean, it's a shithole. These people had a luxurious life. So that doesn't look like a good place to go to. It would be a huge downgrade. But other than that, you're right. Actually, that's a pretty good guess now that I think about it. So,
boys, we're going to North Korea.
Oh yeah, North Korea. Oh, they don't have that good of that. They don't have that. Yeah, they don't have the network in North Korea. But yeah, does make sense. But was that the question? Did I even go on, sorry, BT?
Yeah, it was. I think Afghan Taliban are ready to give safe haven to IRGC. Is that going to be a problem?
Oh, that is going to be a problem for the people who want revenge. For me, that's part of the solution, because I also want to liberate Afghanistan. Okay, so now we have an excuse. Okay. Yeah, like now we have for me, that's for a lot of people who would be upset that the IRGC has a safe haven. I mean, I would be upset as well because I want justice, but it also provides, I really do think Afghanistan deserves to be, I mean, I think this is going to be a multi-decade project, but we could get started early with the excuse that you're hiding our murderers. So yeah, let's go.
Someone in the chat mentioned that there are reports that the Taliban and the IRGC have been talking.
Ooh, okay. This is a good sign, because to me, the more they are planning their escape, the more this suggests to me that the regime is, noticing the writing on the wall. So the more they plan, they have better information than we do. So whenever they plan their escape, to me, it suggests that even them with the better information that they have, are seeing the downfall of the regime. So that's a good sign. I notice, like, one thing I always like to point out is that we should let them escape. Okay. Because it's better for them to escape and we hunt them down later than cornering them and getting them to kill more Iranians, right? It's basically like it's a cornered dog that will bite you. Don't corner them, allow them an exit. Get them focused on running away rather than focus on killing Iranians. If they don't have a way to run away, then they would be more focused on saving themselves by killing Iranians. So give them a way out. We could figure that out. We could bring justice later. And again, one more reminder to people who might be new here: we are very much inspired by how Jews hunted down Nazis after they built Israel. They weren't just satisfied by the fact that they had their country back. They went out Nazi hunting, and basically brought the people who did the Holocaust back to justice. So we Iranians are going to be. I hope we Iranians get inspired by that, and we go and hunt down our murderers. And we have a lot of hunting to do, because it's not just the IRGC. Hashd Shabi was involved, Zainabian was involved, Fatimian was involved, Hezbollah is involved. So we have a lot of hunting to do.
Okay, next we have Samantha.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say is, yeah, like, honestly, the person who was saying that about dogs, this was not an elected official. This was not someone who, what's it called? This isn't someone who held public office. It's not like, in Germany where you've seen like thousands of people coming out on the streets screaming for Sharia law. This wasn't that type of situation where it was like, oh, there were hundreds of Muslims making this statement and putting the statement out there, or even dozens. This was one person. Yes, she's the woman who's in charge of what is that organization called? Within Our Lifetime. So which is kind of scary, and like this woman's a bitch. This woman is an absolute fucking bitch. Okay, I hate this woman. Like, you have no idea how much I hate this fucking woman. But yeah, like it's what. And like, something to keep in mind is, you always, when you're not sure if something's like taking things too far, you want to do like the whole like word replacement thing, like try replacing the word white people with black people and vice versa. And like, I know everything's not, analogous, but like, you want to play like mental exercise of try to make a replacement. If you think like, oh, that's not the same thing, try that. Sometimes it's not the same thing. But you want to like ask yourself, like, okay, can I rationalize why it is not the same thing? Like, so, try replacing sometimes the word Muslim with Jew or Christian or Hindu, and think to yourself, how would Nazi. I feel if I saw,
or the word Nazi?
Okay, but like, if a Jewish person, and it was just like a lone Jewish person, even if like,
I think Nazi would be more close. I mean, I'm not suggesting that all Muslims are not like Nazis, but I think between the word Jew, like the word Muslim and Jew are less close to each other than the word Muslim and Nazi.
Armin, you're the one who knows that most Muslims have never read the Quran.
Yeah, most Nazis have never read Mein Kampf.
I feel like that's not true today.
That is, well, I mean, it was true during the World War II. Like most Germans considered themselves Nazis. They had they didn't read the Mein Kampf. I mean, I think it's true with Nazis today as well. I met a lot of Nazis, by the way. Okay. I'm not saying they're completely the same, but I'm just saying they're closer.
Yeah, I didn't read the Communist Manifesto until I was already in a cult, so. Yeah, I don't know.
By the way, I think you might think it's you're saying that lady is not an elected official. So I could argue that, okay, well, that's good that they're reacting this much before it gets to the UK level. So people, when people say like United States is not like the UK, I might think like, okay, well, maybe it's because they're reacting this much to something like this. Maybe that's why it will not become like UK. Maybe this is why it's not like the UK, because they're not letting it.
I feel like it's misleading to say Muslims are trying to, like, because when it's one person who,
Well, I don't think people
like.
Well, yeah, but it will get to the point of UK if you just don't react. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're
could,
right.
But like to say Muslims like plural when it's not plural, it's one crazy woman. I'm sure we can find. I mean, dude, how many Israelis have said totally fucking unhinged things? You know?
I mean, I agree with you
like,
that I agree with you. If your point is that, like, if anybody says Muslims are trying to do this as a whole, I mean, I've met many Muslims who are not trying to do anything like that. So, like, it doesn't require all Muslims to want to do something like this for this to happen. In fact, the Muslims who don't want to do this are also very much effective in making this happen. In fact, if all of them wanted this to happen, it would not happen. It takes a lot of them not wanting to do this for this to happen, because the Muslims who are nice, decent people are exactly how you manage to sell the idea that Islam is not that dangerous. If all Muslims were following Islam, Islam would be not as dangerous. Islam is actually more dangerous because many Muslims don't follow Islam, because it disarms a lot of people, put their guard down because they notice how many Muslims don't follow Islam. If all Muslims were acting like ISIS, then Islam would have it wouldn't be able to infiltrate anywhere. People would immediately see the threat. Go on.
Okay, but like, it's to make it seem like it's something that a substantial amount of Muslims are currently like. No, one unhinged person said this, not.
I mean, it's not one person. I mean, if somebody says all Muslims are doing this, they're exaggerating. But if you're also saying one Muslim, that's also exaggeration to the other point, to the other side. I mean, this person.
I don't think other.
This person. Yeah, it's not just one person. It's not just one Muslim in New York City who agrees with this. I mean, it's probably not just one Muslim, right?
In America, I have not seen or heard of anyone coming out saying shit like we need to start banning dogs.
Okay, like you haven't seen it. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. There are many Muslims in the United States who their entire goal is to enforce Sharia law in the United States. I mean, you know Daniel Hariraju and his entire base, right?
Yeah.
So Daniel Hariraju is a Harvard-educated Muslim who wants to bring Sharia law to the entire planet, including the United States.
Yeah.
So there's that.
That's scary and fucked up.
Yeah, and he has a huge he has a huge fan base in America, and he's becoming more and more popular compared to the so-called moderate reformist Muslims. That's an indication that there's more than one woman when it comes to enforcing Sharia law. That's a huge indication. When he gets more views than Muslims who have a reformist agenda, that suggests that American Muslims find Daniel Hariraju more compelling than those reformist Muslims, on average, not all of them.
Why do commies not understand the problem with Islamism?
Why commies don't understand?
Yeah, like why? Like what?
I mean, what do they understand? Can you tell me? I'm just kidding. Why do commies?
They understand the exploitation part.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I just wanted to. I mean, for commies, the greatest threat to the world is capitalism, Western imperialism,
capitalism. Yeah.
Right. So if
America's vanguard of capitalism, so tear down America.
Yes. So Islamism is a threat to that. So it's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, if you do believe capitalism is the greatest evil and is being protected, and the only reason why it exists is the United States, then anything against the United States, even if it's not ideal, is better than. I mean, even if Islam is bad, it can't be as bad as capitalism. So
No, Islam is worse than capitalism.
yeah, I'm just saying from the perspective of the anti-Western
Right.
imperialism commies. By the way, that's a lot coming from you, given how much you hate capitalism. I think. By the way, Samantha, I do appreciate how lonely it must feel being like. I hope that we could provide. Like, I hope you feel like we provided a home for you here, given that you, you hate capitalism, but you hate Islam as well. I don't know. I don't know. It must be very isolating because people who are anti-capitalism don't hate Islam, and you hate both Islam and capitalism. So it must be very isolating. I can imagine, right?
Very isolating. Yes,
Right.
very isolating. Like literally, imagine being like a very pro-Israel Zionist in
Who
a
hates
communist
capitalism.
cult.
Right. Okay.
Like,
Well,
it's why
well,
I'm
we
just
love you.
baffling where I'm
Okay,
like, you
so
know,
we love you no matter
thank
what
you.
you. Yeah. So you're always.
Love you too.
Love you
Okay,
too.
I am going to skip over my question and bump down.
Why?
It's okay. We do not have time today. We have a lot on the list. And I'm going to bump Guy down to the end as well, as it would be his second time. So we next have Johan.
Thanks. Yeah, that is interesting actually. That there are two large groups that we're kind of missing here. It's leftists that aren't in favor of Islamism, and they're secular Muslims. Like where are those guys? Right? They're just missing. It's kind of weird. And that what I wanted to say that Islam and Muslims, that I think it's something that you shouldn't let it slide, like Armin did. Like you need to distinguish those two apart. Like Muslims are the ones that practice Islam, right? And that's a religion, while on the other hand, Islamism is an ideology. And I think that there would be a lot of Muslims around that doesn't support Islamism, but you don't really hear much from them, and that's always been disturbing to me. Maybe they are just afraid of their communities. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's I don't remember my question. I think actually that was covered earlier by Jeffrey. So sorry. Next on the list. Thank you very much.
I just want to
favorite
mention
people to call up, people who forget their question. I'm like, yes, let's go.
just want to mention how the way I look at it, I think Islam and Islamism are the same thing, but Muslim and Islamists are two separate things, right? So the reason why Islam and Islamism is the same thing is because the idea of Islamism is supposed to be political Islam, like the version of Islam that wants to have Islamic rule. But that doesn't make any sense because there's no version of Islam that is not political. There's no version of Islam that doesn't want Islamic rule. So Islam is political to its core, and Islamic rule is a fundamental part of Islam. So much so that if you remove it, it's not Islam anymore. So Islam and Islamism are the same thing. However, you could say Muslim and Islamists, because even though Islam is political, not all Muslims believe that. They're wrong, but what can you do? A lot of people suggest like, oh, they're wrong about Islam, so they're not Muslim. No, they're Muslims who are wrong about Islam. You're still a Muslim even if you're wrong about Islam, right? So there are a lot of Muslims who don't fight for Islamic rule, Muslims who believe in secularism. And by the way, Johan, you're right. They're missing in action, except in Iran. A lot of people suggest that these so-called moderate, secular Muslims, they're irrelevant because we never see them when we need them. Like they're not even part of the equation. So who cares? In Iran, though, I must admit that the Iranian the anti-Islamic Republic Iranian Muslims have been a significant part of the revolution, and they need to be recognized for it, and they need to be seen. Fatima Seperi comes to mind when we talk about them. So I do want to give credit to that. But yeah, the rest of the world, there's like, I mean, I'm not saying if it's true or not, but there's a lot of people who have noticed that, at least mentioned that they're missing in action. But yeah, just a Muslim who is not an Islamist is somebody who thinks that Islam doesn't teach you that you have to rule Islamically, that Sharia is not necessarily mandatory. They're wrong, but even they're wrong, they're still Muslim. And an Islamist who thinks that Sharia. By the way, a lot of people who you would think they're moderate Muslims, they actually do believe in Sharia and enforcement of Islamic law. So I don't want to dismiss how significant, how big they are. A lot of Muslims are, both of them are significant. There are true that there are a lot of Muslims are basically good, decent people, and they should be recognized as such. But I do want to warn you about there are a lot of other Muslims who live normal lives, but if given the opportunity, they would choose the ISIS side, right? The only reason why they live normal lives is because they don't think that the situation is ideal for going full ISIS. There are a lot of Muslims who live normal lives, but if all of a sudden ISIS came over and took over, they would be celebrating the shit out of that. And if they saw Jews were being massacred, they would be celebrating the shit out of that as well, even though right now they're living normal lives. And this is a difficult situation because they are very, like, when it comes to looking at them, they are living identical lives. The Muslims who living normal lives, who are living like are just genuine decent people at heart, and Muslims who are living normal lives, but if given the opportunity between the nation state that they're living in and ISIS, they will go with ISIS if that opportunity arises. And I bet you that even though like these Muslims might even be neighbors, and the first type of Muslims will be shocked to see that second type of Muslim that used to be they're just their normal neighbor to all of a sudden be like celebrating beheading of Jews. But and the challenge is that we don't know who's who. We don't know which Muslims who are living normal, decent lives right now are the type of Muslim who would just be losing their mind with happiness and joy with the massacre of Jews if they given the opportunity. So that's why I recognize how sometimes you need to be people who are in favor of indiscriminate ban on immigration from Islamic countries. If you tell them, but look, this is a good, decent Muslim person. If they basically say, you know what, I don't know anymore. Why even give it? Why even try? Like, I sympathize with that, and I know that's unfair to a Muslim who would never do anybody any harm. But again, survival is the most important. Survival comes first. Being kind and being just and being fair is secondary to survival of your nation state. So that's why I sympathize with that. Anyways.
Yeah, I want to add then. I just think it's easier if you keep that those separated, because we heard that earlier. Yeah, dogs are unclean and they shouldn't be. That has to do with religion, like that Islamism, right? That's not secular. You want to have laws that's based on religion. While if you're just a Muslim, yeah, you can think whatever you need to think. Like it's just religion. You're basically free to choose that path. But once you make it into politics and want to form laws, that's when it becomes problematic. And for me, it's a very clear line. I can immediately tell the difference. And I think it's getting clouded a lot, and because people find it hard to distinguish what it is. Yeah. All right. Yep. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Johan. Next, we have Adam.
BT's profile picture is a picture of her dog beating up Khomeini in a boxing ring. And that's a picture of her. I know what her dog looks like. And that's her dog.
Okay, in fairness, my dog's legal name in his pedigree is Mohammed.
Okay.
So it's a recreation of Muhammad Ali having knocked out his opponent.
Okay. Love you.
That's
BT.
hilarious. Is my mic working, people?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I originally tried to double raise my hand when we were originally on the topic that you raised, Armin, of I think it was how to hate Islam without hating Muslims, or I forget how you phrased it exactly. I know you're trying to be very careful with the nuances here.
So let me
and I
give the
remember that-
context. So let me.
Yeah.
What I was saying is that it's sometimes challenging to communicate with your audience and other activists and other allies to find line between fighting Islam and fighting Muslims, and also to do that without losing allies who might have a little bit of a more difficulty or disagreement with you over where that line is. So do you have any suggestions on how to do this?
Yeah, I wanted to connect it back to a topic that we kind of shelved in another session because we recognize it's a huge topic, which is reforming Islam versus eradicating Islam. And I'm in the kind of, let's just say for the sake of argument that I'm the naive idealistic person and I'm wrong, but I'm just going to continue that way for a little while until I'm completely disabused of my idealism. And I've been trying to think of how you actually can get religions to agree, like not just coexist, but to actually argue like philosophers, get the best theologians, get them to argue and like reach a real agreement. And I do think ultimately monotheism has to give in all faiths. But other than that, I know that's a big ask, but I think that once you get rid of monotheism, there's enough wiggle room. And that being said, so I tried to make this framework of 4 propositions a while ago, and I asked ChatGPT, does Islam agree with any of these? And at the time, ChatGPT was Islamophobic, and it said no form of Islam would ever agree with any of those. And I mentioned it in the Goldie Discord, and someone said, oh, well, progressive Marxist Sufism was the only thing that would agree with those propositions. But I think I was saying in the chat that Christianity goes part of the way there, though, because it has this doctrine of hate the sin and love the sinner. And I think that's a guiding light in dealing with, I suggested you could translate that into hate the Islam and love the Muslim. And there was a lot of opposition to this in the chat, which made me realize that I'm right. Usually when people argue with me, it makes me realize I'm right. In that, like, I connect it to the idea of collective guilt being a war crime. And I think that is a mistake that all sides make in modern disputes, that they, you'll see people talk about Palestinian infants as though they're guilty of a crime. And you see people talk about Jews as if they're guilty of a crime they had nothing to do with. And there's, I'm sure, plenty of, now, being a bystander is a kind of crime. And so I do understand, I'm pretty sure that would be the Goldie retort. If somebody said that in her live chat, you'd be like, well, why did all the Islamic nations stand idly by during this or that atrocity? And but I think you have to separate collective guilt from punishing someone for criminal organizing. Yes.
Oh no, I was just waving at Sammy because he opened his camera.
Oh, I thought you were again. That's a good place to pause those. That was a big mouthful, but that's just kind of summarizing the debate we had in the chat.
Okay. Do you have any questions at the end of that, or was that just your?
Well, I was
opinion?
responding to your question because you asked for suggestions, and so I think one of the big places to I think those are a couple places to push basically conceptually. One is on monotheism itself, because I happen to think that that's the problem, but you could do these all as separate topics, right? There's pressing on monotheism, and there's pressing on the idea of collective guilt, which Christianity already kind of prohibits, and it's also in war crime law. There's a prohibition on collective guilt. So I mean, when it
comes to challenging Islam, there's so many different ways, right? And I think all of them work, and we need all of them because different Muslims respond differently, right? You could challenge monotheism, you could challenge Islamic teachings, the morality of Islam, one of my favorites is to challenge the historicity of Islam. A lot of Muslims are interested in, conspiracies, and to give them, to show them, and I think like I could sell Islamic revisionism, historic revisionism, as this very attractive conspiracy for them to consider, and how much when they're in, like, that has been very successful when it comes to changing the minds of a lot of Muslims, right? But so I think but the main problem is the main problem is not how to fight Islam, right? That's not what I'm suggesting. When it comes to challenging Islam, my question is regarding the mannerism, the way you treat Muslims while you do it, and how you could advocate not hating on Muslims while you're trying to destroy Islam. And by the way, just for the record, I am very, very much against reforming Islam, very much against it. I think I'm very much in favor of the focusing on destroying Islam, not reforming it. And if anybody wants to talk about that at some point, and why I'm very, very anti-reformist, I'm very interested in having that conversation. But when it comes to destroying Islam, I think that reaching out to Muslims and having friendly conversations with them is the most effective way of doing this. And you have to. So that's what I'm asking. Like, that's what I'm saying. How do we talk to Muslims in a way that they bring their guard down and consider what you're saying, without them feeling that you're basically coming to make their lives miserable, and by demonizing them, pushing them away from you, and making them not consider your position. If anybody says like, oh, Muslims will not even listen to you anyways, they're already retarded, so they're not going to listen to you, and they're brain dead. I mean, I have been very successful in convincing a lot of Muslims in the past 10 years out of Islam, like a lot of Muslims. So and this is the solution. If you're saying there's no point, then what is your solution? Because then you basically just give up and die. Then I don't know what do you want to do. Like, this is the way. So that's what I'm trying to. But the thing is that because how damaging Islam is, a lot of people, and how people have been hurt by Islam, when you come and say that you're very aggressively anti-Islam, but then if you try to talk about how you don't want to preach hatred towards Muslims, a lot of people think that you're being a softie, right? A lot of people, and if they have been hurt by Islam a lot, if Islam has hurt, made them experience a lot of pain and misery in their lives, then when you come and talk about being nicer to Muslims, they dismiss you as somebody who doesn't get how damaging Islam is. So that's the challenge, right? You have to show them that you are very anti-Islamic, because those people are my allies, and my rhetoric, that my pro-Muslim, anti-Islamic rhetoric might turn them off. So how do you convince them that you are in the same fight with them without them giving up on you as an ally when you talk about not hating on Muslims? That's the challenge that I'm dealing with.
Right, and just two sentences. I'll let sort of, but I think part of the way to do that is to see what two people can agree on, and there's different ways you can do that with like a list of sentences. You'd be like, do you agree on the Noahide laws? Do you agree on these 4 sentences that I came up with? You could start with any list of propositions, like, well, do you agree about human rights? You could just go through the human rights and be like, do you agree with this human right? Do you agree with this human right? I think there has to be a framework that you do that, whatever it is. It has to be a list that you go through with someone, then you find out which things do you agree on the list. I think it boils down to that. And I mean, that's maybe I'm being naive thinking you can solve everything with philosophy, but that's basically how I would try to do it on an individual level. I've tried it with various people. It's hard. It takes a long time because they'll just, some of these propositions, it's a whole months to discuss them, but yeah.
In Iran, I have a cheat code. I just say, what about Fatima Sepehri? And that would be the end of the conversation. In Iran, we have this revolutionary woman who wears the chador against Islamic Republic, and she's pro-Pahlavi. So every time they want to say like, oh, fuck all Muslims and everything like that, I just say, but what about Fatima Seperi? And usually that that just ends the conversation. Like, oh, okay, you're right, whatever. Okay, fine. Maybe not all of them. So if I could find a cheat code like that in English, that would be great. But anyways.
Okay, we've got only about 10 minutes left until the hour, and we've got 3 people on the list still. So next we have Sabina.
Like the Munich conference, there was like a town hall where like Amapur interviewed Prince Reza Pahlavi, and in that interview, she was trying to characterize like Pahlavi, Pahlavi supporters as like hostile or aggressive, like towards people. And I kind of have seen like online, like IRGC supporters trying, like almost trying to like bait us like into reacting hostily. and I'm like wondering like how much of that is like an anti-Pahlavi strategy that they're using to try to like characterize Pahlavi supporters that way. I know like Bushra Sheikh like put out another just horrible enraging video today. I just I wonder if that's something we need to be careful about.
Sabina, have you ever had any connection to Iranian politics before?
Not until fairly recently.
Okay, because you seem very smart. Like you notice something that it takes a long time for other people to realize. Like you're not Iranian, you're not half Iranian, you don't have Iranians in your family.
I lived in Iran as like a 9, 8, 9, 10-year-old child.
Okay.
And just have kind of followed things to some degree. I know a little bit more about the culture than most people that are American, I guess. But
all right, so let me give some context to people and then tell people why your observation, is very smart. So when it comes to Princess Pahlavi, there's this constant accusation regarding the way that they behave. And one of the main attacks on Princess Pahlavi is that his supporters are very aggressive online, right? This has been one of the main attacks on Princess Pahlavi, right? To a lot of, by the way, to me, but this also suggests that Princess Pahlavi himself has very few flaws, because the vast majority of the attacks against him is against his followers, against his wife, against his father, against his grandfather, against the people around him, because there's so few things they could find regarding attacking himself. Oh, by the way, Sabina, if you don't mind, can you mute your microphone, because I hear background.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. With regards to the pro Pahlavi people being aggressive online, to be honest, that is true, because that's true for every side. Because every side, every political position in Iran has a certain percentage of them that are incredibly aggressive, right? What these people don't tell you is that the same level of aggression, more actually, exists on the anti-Pahlavi side. But people don't point that out because they do far worse things than being aggressive online. Like the anti-Pahlavi side, they have murder and terrorism and torture and rape on their record. So pointing out that they are also swearing online, they're like, of course they swear, like they kill. What are you talking about, right? And I mean, even among the leftist groups or Masih Alinejad's fans or Hamid Ismailioun fans or the MEK fans, if you go look at how they talk online, they are also, I mean, they are very big fans of the side that they're on. And if what, I mean, anybody who does any form of political activity, not just in Iran, anywhere, you know that once you step into the arena, there's going to be some people who are against you who are going to be brutal against you online, and they're going to call you out, and they're going to use words, any form, anything that they could come up with to try to hurt you, right? Like emotionally. But honestly, that's, to me, that is complaining about nothing at all. Like, these are just words. They're like just like words. Like, these are just comments. Like, what's happening to you? Nothing is. But you're right. That given how that is a common attack on Princess of Pahlavi, now a lot of anti-Pahlavi people seeing how effective that is to try to dismiss all Pahlavi supporters as a bunch of crazy radicals online, they do try to poke at them so that they could record their reaction. I must say, though, that the only reason why their numbers seem high is because there's more of them. Like, percentage-wise, I think anti-Pahlavi people are way more aggressive percentage-wise. But because pro-Pahlavi people are just so much bigger, like that's such a bigger movement, even a very small percentage of it going online being aggressive is just going to be such a big number of aggressive people, right? I mean, even 0.5% of all Pahlavi supporters, like, we have millions and millions and millions of Iranians. Imagine even if 0.5% of them just wanted to go like act very aggressive against anybody who was anti-Pahlavi online. That is a lot of people that are dedicated to basically. But I do think a lot of them is also fake. So a lot of them is a lot of it is real. A lot of it is MEK active, like, and we know this, like, this is not a conspiracy theory. We know MEK goes online and says we're Pahlavi and then goes out and says the most retarded shit to try to demonstrate that Pahlavi people are cuckoo. In fact, not like sometimes the MEK does that, sometimes the Islamic Republic does that, sometimes they try to bait Pahlavi people to do stuff like this. I know based on like I based on my friends' experience inside Munich that this has been. So let me tell you something that was widely reported on, but a small part of it that hasn't been widely reported on. In the Munich gathering, there were some people who came into the gathering for the day of action as the call to in response to the call to action by Princess of Pahlavi for people on February 14th to come out in cities around the world, especially Munich, Toronto, and LA. And Iranian people came out in hundreds of thousands in each city. Overall, millions of Iranians came out in support of the Iranian people inside Iran against the massacre in early January by the Islamic Republic. So this was a record, by the way. The number of people that came out was even much higher than the gathering that we had in Munich in response to the Massa Revolution. But when Princess of Pahlavi came out to give a speech, there were some people who came into the gathering and they had, Pahlavi signs and, flags, lion and sun flag, I don't know, the Rafsh Kaviani symbols, all the symbols that shows that they're pro-Pahlavi, and they were there to disrupt. I don't know if they were Islamic Republic or MEK. My bet would be on MEK. But when people were guided to give a chant, they would get a different chant. They like the chants were pro-Pahlavi, but when Princess of Pahlavi was speaking, they will hit the drums. When people were trying to chant, they will hit the drums. They will always give a chant. Their crowd would give a chant and different from what the chant of the rest of the crowd was supposed to be, to confuse some other people and have like different people contradicting each other. And people were getting really frustrated, and they were called out and they were kicked out. And my friend followed them to try to figure out who they were. And he basically stopped some of them and he asked them, who are you, who are you with, like what the hell were you doing? And the person, and he accused him of being MEK, and the person like, oh yeah, you want to beat me, like come beat me. Like the person was like, oh my god, yeah, you're angry, yes, we were disrupting the crowd, do you want to beat me? Like, and my friend told me that, oh, I told him like, oh, I really do want to beat you, this is not a time, but if it was another time I would beat you up. And I told him, you shouldn't have said that. And to me, I told him, did you realize what he was doing, right? He was really hoping that you beat him, so that, like, their goal was to get on record that was physical violence among, people who were there. Like, they were trying to get physical violence on the record to basically paint the whole event as something with physical like, imagine if one person beat up another person, right? Then all the anti-Pahlavi people were like, oh my god, there was physical violence among Pahlavi supporters, these people can't even get along. Just one incident, they would use that to paint the whole entire event as something that included physical violence. And the fact that he was so eager to tell him to come beat me up shows that, yes, this is part of the strategy to get Pahlavi supporters to behave poorly and then try to use that as a way to hurt Princes of Pahlavi standing. I don't know, Sabina, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. I guess I just wanted to add that I guess the one thing that gives me confidence is that, online the Pahlavi supporters just grossly outnumber everybody else, so it's right. Kind of an encouraging sign, I guess.
Yeah, and
anyway,
they
thank
do.
You.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I just also want to point out, in support of Pahlavi supporters, that they do have a really clean record when it comes to, physical like violence compared to every other group. You know what I mean? Like, there's like all the other groups have assassinations on the record, a lot of physical violence on the record. Pahlavi supporters, when it comes to online people online calling, like swearing at each other, like who doesn't do that, right? I mean, everybody has some percentage of people doing that. But when it comes to actual physical violence, compared to every other group, their record is so much is almost 100% clean. Almost.
Yeah, I do kind of want to punch Bushra Sheikh in the face, but I won't be anywhere near her, so it's pretty safe, I guess. But
well, we don't endorse physical violence on this channel, just so that
right.
I just want to get that record. Yes, but yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sabina.
Last on the list, we have Cameron. It is now at the hour, Armin, just as a reminder.
I could do half an extra hour because I do want to hear some other people.
Okay, beautiful. And Nail Bunny would like to remind you to please check your Telegram.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, sorry. I'm so behind on Telegram, sorry.
Am I good to ask a question now, or?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So I was just wondering how the Iranian, so after the IRGC is defeated and you have the reformation of Iran, is there any thought that Iranians have towards like Second Amendment rights like we have in America, not only for things like self-defense, but having seen a tyrannical government and not having a means to defend yourself, is that something that would work in Iranian culture, or has a different view now? And if it's not viewed good just because they're in that culture, not used to it, how would you see it personally?
All right. So the Iranian people have a lot of passionate views and discussions regarding the Second Amendment. Okay. And this has been a very, very heated discussion among Iranians, when in our discussion groups, on Clubhouse, on Discord, on YouTube. When this topic comes up, the discussion often gets very, very heated, because the Iranian people who want something like the Second Amendment for Iran when Iran becomes free, they don't want it casually. They are very passionate about it, and they argue like, how could you want anything else, given that America, how, given the experience that we had with the Islamic Republic, it shows that being armed is necessary for democracy. We need to be armed to guarantee that nobody could ever rule over us like this ever again. America has proven that this works, and the Islamic Republic has proven that we need this, right? And they're very passionate about this. The other side is also sometimes very passionate about, we don't need this in Iran. Iran is not the United States. We need the central government to be able to have the monopoly of force, because we are in a very crazy neighborhood, and having everybody being armed is going to cause a lot of difficulty for our government to create stability. I mean, if everybody is armed, as you're basically talking about, the Baluchi separatists, the Kurdish separatists, the Turkish separatists, they're armed as well. There's a lot of people who might be sympathetic to bringing back the Islamic Republic again. They will legally be able to be armed as well, and they might use the legality of this as a way to basically store our weapons to eventually do some terrorist activities. Like they said, we don't have the stability of America as when the Islamic Republic falls, and our priority needs to be to stabilize the country. And we don't have to really worry about losing democracy anymore, because the Iranian people are so hell-bent on being democratic that the fear of having tyranny come back to Iran is basically the chances of that is close to zero. So we don't need to worry about that. And then the other side would say that's naive. How could you say that? Obviously, democracy requires an armed, the citizens to be armed. So this is a big topic. So I don't know which side has the highest numbers, but I know it gets very heated. And right now, actually, the discussion is more about how we can get armed right now, because we're in the middle of a war. But before this revolution started, before this round of this revolution started, I remember this being a big topic among Iranians. What do you think? What do you think is what's your opinion on this?
Well, I am a very strong Second Amendment supporter myself. On a personal perspective, I would say, look, my wife, just for self-defense, would never be able to protect herself or our kids. But if she's armed, and in our house, she's always within arm's length of at least one gun in every room of the house, she's able to defend herself from anyone personally there. On a larger context, I think it's best if the population is armed and has a means of self-defense, not only against their own government, but even in the case of World War II, when there were talks within Japan about, hey, what would happen if we were to invade America? And they're like, that's not a good idea, because even then they said, well, there's a gun behind every tree with every American. So I see it not only as a means of personal self-defense, as the people themselves to be able to defend their rights. I see the gun as a symbol of freedom and exercise of freedom, and there's absolutely risk with it. And there could be some sort of variation that Iran would come up with, like what you said. There's risks of, well, there's certain types of people that may want to bring in this older government, and then they'd be able to legally hold arms. Well, you could have something where, hey, in this new reformed Iran, if you have these associations from the old government, we can't allow you to own a gun, at least for X amount of time. Maybe rules like this could apply. I don't know, but I know as myself, as an American, I am very pro Second Amendment rights. And I think everyone should have a gun, and everyone's safer for it. It brings in risk, but at the same time, if you look at America, where do all the mass shootings and things occur? Almost every time it's in a gun-free zone. Places where, everyone's armed, if a shooter does go there, they are killed rather quickly. What is your personal opinion on it?
So here's the thing. I'm very much in favor for the Second Amendment for America. Very much in favor for that.
Okay.
For Iran, I don't know. I am I'm in favor of liberty. I usually think that things should be allowed unless there is evidence for it to be harmful. Like the burden of proof should be on the side of somebody who wants to ban something, not on the side of somebody who wants to make something free. So my assumption is that it should be
I
free
agree.
unless you could give me like undeniable evidence that this will cause harm, right? So I do also believe that just because something works in one country, it doesn't mean that it's a solution for every country. I do have also the idea that the United States is the guarantor for democracy everywhere in the world. The biggest motivation for being democratic everywhere in the world is that we have the United States. But given that we don't have a United States for the United States, we need Americans to be armed because the guarantor for democracy in the United States is the American people. But when it comes to Iran, I do believe in liberty, but I do also believe in skepticism. I am open to the idea that maybe in Iran, there, at least maybe at the beginning, I do believe that at some point we should be able to get armed, but I am willing to get convinced that maybe at the beginning stability is the highest of all priorities, and the right to life is more important than the right to everything else. So if we need stability, maybe at the beginning, maybe some of our liberties need to be limited until we get a stable country. And because I'm a skeptic, I do believe in the wisdom of the crowd more than individual wisdom, including my wisdom. So that's why I believe in liberty as well. I believe that in a society where you allow people to politically compete with each other, the best solutions and the best ideas will present themselves. And that's why I do believe that if you give the Iranian people a stable framework for different political groups to compete with each other, for and against the freedom to be armed, in that environment we will discover what the best solution for Iran is, and whatever my vote is, and as an individual Iranian citizen, I will submit to the will of the Iranian people in that environment, and based on who they pick as their representative, and that democratic process, whatever they decide as the law, if the framework is secure and the people are free enough, I believe the solution that comes out of that is the closest thing to the ideal solution, more than my recommendation. So part of believing in liberty, like believing in liberty doesn't just mean the liberty to own guns, it's also the liberty for the Iranian people to choose their laws. And if the Iranian people choose that the owning guns should be limited or restricted, then that's also part of liberty, like the liberty to choose what laws govern your country. So a lot of people who believe in the Second Amendment talk about liberty, but what about the liberty to limit something, the liberty to choose your own laws? If the Iranian people decide that they want gun ownership to be restricted, that's also the liberty that they should be able to enjoy. Right?
Well, perhaps there's a foolproof way to decide who can and can't own guns. You can just have Goldie say, you can, you can't, because Goldie's always right.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. There's that. Well, thank you. That's a very that was a very interesting discussion and a fun way to end it. Yeah, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No,
Can I
thank
also
you.
add to that?
Can we go with people really quickly with people? You guys could continue this discussion after I go. I just want to make sure, like, who's on the list? Just quickly going over the people who haven't spoken yet. BT?
There's no one on the list who hasn't spoken yet.
Okay, okay. So Danny, go on. And who's on the list as at all? Like,
Then I was the only. I was also waiting.
Okay.
I'll be
So-
quick.
quickly.
I just thought it's worth seeing how it unfolds with pro-Islamic Republic people after Iran is freed. Because if they start doing shit like the Palestinians try to do in Israel, then maybe we don't want everyone to be able to have access to guns. So I think you just have to wait and see.
Yes, that's a very good response. We have to see what I think deciding that before we see what the conditions are might be the wrong. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, thank you. All right. Who's left? I know Samantha, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I kind of just want to add to before when you were talking about what's
Go-
it called? Like them talking about like Pahlavi supporters and like, someone at a rally like saying like, "Oh, don't you just want to like hit me?" to like try to bait the person into like saying that. Like that's a real tactic that commies like to use of trying to like bait someone into saying something so that they can like record responses and like, see be like so like yeah, like there's different ways of going about trying to like do that to people. Like one could be like that, like, yeah, don't you just want to do this to me or something? But like you also have to like look out for because there's also like, someone could try to like pretend to be like really nice and be like, oh my god, I fucking hate those like, MEK people. Like I want to like, don't you just also sometimes want to like, do this and that to them? Like, they could come at it from that end where they pretend like, oh yeah, I'm with you. I'm a Pahlavi supporter. I hate this. Don't you just also hate them? And like, so that's like another tactic way of doing that. Or they could like, another tactic way of trying to do that is to like, make it feel like you're weird if you're not, agreeing with this position that they want to record you saying like, oh my god, what is wrong with you? Like you don't want to like do X or you've never done X before. Really? That's so weird. So there's just different tactics and ways of trying to like manipulate people that be aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. By the way, Guy, can we go to Guy because I feel bad. I feel like we kind of he's been waiting for so long to speak again. And I saw Shawl wants to speak as well, but Guy, go ahead and then we go.
So the first quick thing to go back to the India thing, I actually checked while during the conversation. Apparently, they have a principled objection to country-specific resolutions in the United Nations Human Rights Council, which I can understand. Some people argue that they did it from like interest, but for an interested voting would actually be more likely to abstain, I think. So it makes more sense to me that it's the principled stance.
But why wouldn't they? If it's principle, why not just abstain?
No, the principled stance is that the United Nations Human Rights Council should not have any country-specific resolutions, and so they oppose that like structurally. Which I mean, again, I would obviously vote for, but I looked into it as were. The other thing. So the last thing I talked about was about the issue of propaganda and the war over the minds of people in the West. I don't know if it's relevant at all, but I curated with some of my friends over the last like 3 years, like hundreds of clips of either related to the war, like the Gaza war, or to Islam and what it does and how it's trying to take over the West. And I would be, and it's like filterable by topic, and it's like put a lot of effort into it. I don't know if it would be useful to anyone, but if it is, I would be happy to share it, just for like content to use in the propaganda wars to come.
What is this? What is this collection of clips in the war in
clips
Gaza?
or studies or
Oh.
yeah, either the war in Gaza. There's a bunch of different topics. There's Qatar. There's some Iran, though it's outdated now. There's Islam in Europe, Islam taking over Europe, and there's also the war in Gaza.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that sounds useful. That does sound useful to have. Like maybe email me about it. I'll try to respond.
Okay. So I guess is
do you have like a website
that
that
email or
there's,
Telegram?
Like, yeah. Oh, Telegram. Okay, then
It's
my
a Google
Telegram.
right now. It's a Google Sheets. It's a Google Sheets doc, and it's constantly updating. And also, I mean, if you have the link and other people want to add to it, I want it to be like a central place we can go and filter. I want something related to the UN. I want something related to media.
Okay, that's actually something I would be interested in. That's really interesting. So yeah, my maybe Telegram me or email me. My email is armin.navobi@gmail.com. My Telegram is @thearminnavobi. So either one works.
Okay.
It might take a while before I see it, but I'll try my best.
Is it better to do it on Telegram or email?
They both suck right now. Email. Yeah.
Okay, and that was armin.navabi?
Yes.
At Gmail?
At gmail.com. Yeah.
Okay. I'll send it on both just in case. Whichever I get first. Great.
Okay. I think Shaw? Who? BT, I didn't hear you. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Shaw.
When it comes to guns, I don't know if you talked about it, but wouldn't the problem be with the groups that already have guns?
Yeah, I mean, this is with the assumption of disarming the IRGC and the Basij and Nurian Tizami. This would be with this. People are talking about what comes after. Who gets to have guns after? In Iran.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Behzad, because I just saw he hasn't spoken yet.
Because I just saw.
Yep.
Yes, beautiful. Do you have time for this one last one?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Go ahead, Behzad.
I just came in. I just wanted to say hi to Armin. I've tried several times to come on here when you're on here, so I seem to have the gods are against us. I seem to miss you all the time.
Well, I'm an atheist, so it's natural for the gods to be against me, but yeah.
That was a reference to paganism, so yeah, but anyway, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Okay, guys. So when I go, you guys could you could continue having the conversations here. So me leaving is not the end of the conversation. So I'm just gonna end the live stream on YouTube. Guys, on YouTube, you're watching. Please make sure you like this, you share, subscribe, leave comments, and also join this community that we're here. The link to this community is in the description. So come so that next time when we have this group, you guys could join as well. So just to the people on YouTube, I'm Israel Chai, Javid Shah, Payande Iran. So let me end the stream and also